Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Anything Liverpool YouTube channel and live stream with myself, Chris, Craig, and Kaz. Thank you so much for joining us on this. And Kaz goes and drops immediately. Thank you so much for joining us on this Friday evening as we take a preview into the Premier League weekend with game week 4 coming up. Games starting from 12:30 tomorrow with Arsenal and Nottingham Forest. So, a couple of things that we're going to get into today. We'll obviously have a look at Slot's presser today, revealing a couple of things about injuries and who's fit and who's not fit and whatnot. Kaz is back there now. Who's fit and who's not fit. Obviously, looking ahead, he's talked about Isak as well and what he foresees his game time to be, which is fairly similar to what I assumed it would be. We'll take a look at the Burnley game on Sunday and preview that. We'll take a look at some predictions, some predicted 11s. Obviously, some more Ibrahima Konate drama has come out from Lewis Steele, and obviously Spanish sources telling him, the same Spanish sources that told him about Trent leaving are also telling him about Konate leaving. So there's that to enjoy for the rest of the season, I guess. And we will, I suppose, have a chat about Isak himself and when he will probably start. But first of all, I'll throw it over to my panel mates and let everybody introduce themselves. Chris, how are you? Hope you're having a good day. Hope you're very excited for the upcoming games in the Premier League. How have you sort of seen with the we'll start with the presser, I suppose, probably the best question first of all. Have you seen much of the quotes from it? Curtis Jones obviously is out injured. Bradley and Frimpong are back training. So does that, do you think, influence maybe some positional starting lineups on Sunday, or how do you think that goes?
I'm good. Thank you for asking, first of all. To be honest, I'm not sure we're going to see anything too different to what we saw in the last couple of games. I know Bradley and Frimpong are back training, but Zoboszlai's done a really good job there. There's no need to rush anyone back into the team. So I can see us going with the same lineup. Obviously, Jones is injured, so he's not going to be available from the bench. Hopefully, it's not too bad of an injury, but I can't see him changing too much about the last game against Arsenal because we looked the best we did defensively so far. And I don't think there's any need to rush Frimpong back into the team when he's just returned. If it was a case of Zoboszlai wasn't doing a great job and we were in desperate need of someone on the right side to return back from their injury, then it's a different story. But Zoboszlai has been really reliable there. Obviously, man of the match in the last 2 games, scored a screamer against Arsenal. So he's made himself undroppable. And we've obviously got Wirtz, Gravenberch and McAllister. Everyone was speaking about this issue of who's going to start in midfield. So it looks like we're going to see that midfield to start the game. But I can see Zoboszlai carrying on the right.
Well, if you can see Zoboszlai carrying on the right, are you expecting Alexi McAllister, having flown back from South America, having played 90 minutes in a fairly intense game against Ecuador or Colombia, I can't remember who they played. Do you expect him to start, given that he hasn't really been 100% for the season? Or do you think maybe it'll be put one of the right backs in and push Zoboszlai then into the midfield with a pivot with Gravenberch?
Yeah, that's an option. To be honest, I didn't really think of the time zones and how different and how far they're traveling from. So that's a good point. But yeah, it's now that you mentioned that he's come back later than the rest of the team, then it probably would make more sense. Obviously, we don't want him getting injured as well. So I think he will know more than us in terms of what times and what days the players got back, and he will know how rested the players are. So if it is the case of McAllister's just got back this morning or yesterday morning, it's not worth risking him either. So probably would make more sense if we've got a fully fit right back, natural right back to come back into the team. We could probably see Zoboszlai joining the midfield and McAllister coming on later in the game. But Zoboszlai just done a great job. And I think that is the only way he does get back into midfield is if another one drops out at the moment. So obviously Wirtz hasn't been the best so far. We know that. But you don't just drop a £110 million player or £160 million player. He has to keep starting because he's not going to improve unless he's playing the games. And it's the same with Isak, but we'll go on to that later on.
Yeah. Craig, with the news that has come out from Arne Slot saying Jones is obviously injured, McAllister is going to be coming back from South America. We obviously have both right backs. Frimpong has been training with the under-21s. Conor Bradley has played both games in the international break, and he has played well in both games in the international break, so clearly his match fitness wouldn't be a doubt in my own opinion. Do you see Zoboszlai going into midfield, or do you see him coming in at right back, or how do you see the injury to Jones affecting the lineup, or do you just see McAllister going straight back into
Well, first
that
of all,
midfield?
good evening to yourself, Stephen, and good evening to you, Chris. Nice to meet you for the first time.
You too.
Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about this today, actually, after listening to Arne Slot's press conference, what he said. I made a few notes, but I'll come on to the Isak one later on. In respect of right back, I mean, because I watched both Ireland's games, I watched a lot of international football this week, and I think Conor Bradley played really, really well. For me, now he's match fit, and I think he'll go back in at right back. I just can't see him. He's struggled a little bit, and then obviously with the severity of the game, what he had in midweek, distance he's had to fly back. I can see Ernie putting McAllister on the bench and probably bringing him on for the last half an hour. So I can see Dominic Szoboszlai starting in midfield. I think that would make more sense to me rather than risking Maka in picking up an injury and him being out for longer than we needed him. To me, it's a risk. In terms of our friend from Germany, Florian Wirtz, every footballer has a moment where everything just clicks for them. And I think Florian had that moment on Wednesday night when he scored that free kick for Germany. I think now you'll see a different player now, because if he's not got a shot in the arm, a confidence from that, then what the hell's going to give the guy confidence? Because it was a hell of a free kick. Probably the big question for me is to you both is who takes the free kicks now? Dominic.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I can see it's obviously. I think Szoboszlai's going to go straight back into that midfield because they're not going to risk McAllister having travelling back from the Southern Hemisphere. And then Alisson's a different story because it's a different kettle of fish being a goalkeeper and standing between the sticks. You just have to be there mentally. Whereas for a midfielder, especially somebody that's asked to do the job that McAllister is asked to do, you need to be there mentally, physically, every type of league, supposedly. And that it will be too much of an ask considering his sort of slow start to the season and the not lack of preseason, but limited preseason that he's had. Similar to Isak, I think Isak maybe gets 10 minutes in this game. Maybe, if he's lucky.
I'd be surprised if we actually saw him, to be honest with you. I don't think we'll see Isak till the Southampton game, to be honest.
I think we won't see him. We probably might see him a little bit against Atletico because that's a home game. To be honest, because this is an away game with Burnley, he may stay back and continue on his match fitness and getting up to fitness again. That could be an option because Slot has done that before with players, that he doesn't travel away. And then the next 3 games after that are 3 home games. Atletico Madrid midweek, Everton at the weekend for the early kickoff, which would be an absolute punt of a game. And then you have the Southampton game following that. I probably think you'll see him play the biggest minutes in that Southampton game. I don't,
because if you look at the games you just peeled off, Stephen, if you look at the fixture list now, we've got 7 games in 20 days. It's absolutely brutal. And if, taking nothing away from Isak, for me, he's in the same position Federico Chiesa was in when he came in last year. He didn't have a pre-season. How many minutes did Federico Chiesa get? So I don't think Arne Slot's going to pay 130 million for a fella and risk him, and then if he tweaks his groin or yeah, I can see where the fans are coming from. They're desperate to see him, but it's like Arne Slot said in his press conference this morning. We've not signed him for 2 weeks. We've signed him for 6 years. So what he's saying there is, trust me, I'll get it right. I'll do the right. He'll do the same thing what the Swedish manager did for him this week. He's training, and from what I've seen, probably the same as you, Stephen, on inside Anfield with the training footage, he is looking pretty sharp. But we all know training is completely different from match games. And Burnley, they're not going to make that easy on Sunday. It's not going to be a walk in the park. They're going to sit back, probably put 10 men behind the ball. They'll play with 5 in defence, like they've done in the first 2 games, and probably try and hit us on the counter-attack.
Which is why I think somebody like Bradley at the right back or Frimpong at right back, somebody that'll get up and down the pitch.
The back four have got to be on the metal on the weekend. Whoever steps in at right back. Would you just talking at left about left full backs there. Would you start Andy Robertson in this over Kirkes?
No.
Why?
He doesn't have the legs and the pace
Okay.
anymore. If you want to stop counter attacks, you don't put Andy Robertson in there. He'll get burned.
What's your thoughts on Kirkes now?
It's fine. I think he's doing unbelievably well. I think people obviously expected him to be playing a completely different role than what he is at the moment. He's doing the role he's been asked to do, and it took him 2 games to get into it. But that Arsenal game, he was absolutely fantastic. So I've no qualms about him whatsoever. People expecting these signings to come in and hit the ground running immediately when they're in a new environment, new training ground, new teammates around them, new habits to learn, new system to learn, new manager to sort of feel out. And as much as people don't like to admit it, they have a different pitch to play on. The pitch down in Bournemouth, the Vitality Stadium, is a different pitch to what it is at Anfield. Yes, they go to every pitch at least once a season. But when you spend half of your time sat on your pitch, moving to a pitch like Anfield is way different. The Stade de France in France, where Paris Saint is it Parc des Princes or Stade de France, the one where PSG. Where PSG play, that pitch is massive. No football pitch is actually the same size, which is why I'm saying this. Like, it's I have no problems with Kirkes whatsoever. I think he's been absolutely phenomenal coming in. He's doing a slightly different role than what he was doing at Bournemouth, but he's doing it like a duck to water. I've absolutely no issues with him whatsoever.
What would your starting 11 be for Sunday then, Chris and Steve?
I'll let you go.
Go on, Chris.
Well, evaluating everything that's been said already, Alisson I don't think is going to have an issue in terms of coming back from Brazil duty. I think he's going to go straight in. I agree with Stephen. I think Kirkes will carry on at left back. I think people are too quick to jump on the first 2 games, and like Stephen said, he's got a change of environment, change of teammates. He's moving to a new home, and even though he's still in the UK, he's moved from one side of the UK to the other. So there's a lot of, and it's for all these players, especially the ones that have come from abroad. So people have been too quick to jump on those first 2 games. I think we're going to see Konate and Van Dijk in the centre at the back. Probably see Frimpong come back in because he wasn't on international duty, so he had all that time to recover as well. And yeah, the midfield picks itself with Wirtz, Zoboszlai and Gravenberch, and the front three is not going to change. I don't think we're going to have Gakpo, Ekatike, Salah, Isak. I agree with Stephen as well. If he is involved at all in this game, it will only be for about 15-20 minutes max. So that's what I would go with. Jones obviously not available, but we've got more than enough firepower in that team, more than enough quality to get the 3 points in this game.
Yeah, I agree. Craig, you go with yours, and then I'll give my predicted 11 afterwards.
Right, I think obviously I agree with Chris. I think he's not going to change the goalkeeper. I think he'll play Mamardashvili in the cup game. The cup for me, I think that's when we'll first see him. I think Conor Bradley will start at right back. I think you'll have Virgil and Konate at centre half. Kirkes will start at left back. I'm just hoping that Konate's performances don't drop off. We know what's happened. He's had his head definitely turned, that's for sure. And you'll probably come on to that in a bit. I think midfield, it'll be Szoboszlai. McAllister will be on the bench. It'll be Szoboszlai, Gravenberch. You'll have Gakpo on the left. On the right, you're going to have Mo Salah. You're going to have Ekatike up front. I think Isak will be on the bench, but I'll be surprised if he starts to be. But I hope he does, but at the same time, I don't want him to pull up with anything. So I'd go soft with him. I'd give him 10 minutes at max for me, but that would be my starting the 11. I've got a question for you after Stephen when you give me your 11, because I think there's a formation tweak. What could make, but I want to put that to you because I know you like your formations. But what you
Yeah, so my starting 11 will be obviously I'll put Alisson in goal. I have Kirkes left back, two centre backs of Virgil van Dijk and Ibrahim Konate. I'm going to have Bradley right back. Frimpong has been training, but he hasn't played any competitive games, whereas Bradley has had 2 games on international break where he's played quite well. So I'd nearly put him in there and then bring Frimpong on later to keep that injection of pace and energy on the right-hand side. So that's the only reason I picked Bradley over him is just because he's got the match games underneath him over the international break, whereas Frimpong didn't. And he's coming off a hamstring injury. You're not going to throw him back in to start immediately, in my opinion. Midfield, I would have a double pivot of, so mine's a 4-2-3-1. I don't see him changing from that realistically. Double pivot of Gravenberch and Szoboszlai. Your 10 is Florian Wirtz. Your left wing is Cody Gakpo. Your right wing is Mohamed Salah. And your forward is Ugo Ekitike. That's who I would have as my starting 11. I could see it molding into a pseudo back 3 if either Kirkes bombs forward or Bradley bombs forward. The other one will stay back. And that's sort of how I see it going and build up. Having a fullback that goes and bombs up forward will help left and right wingers face one-on-ones instead of one-on-twos, for lack of a better term. Craig, you said you had a question for me then once I gave my lineup.
Yeah, on your formation there, you've just mentioned the formation, which I was thinking about when we signed Isak. Would he play a 4-2-3-1 and play both TK and Isak? Or do you think he might switch to a diamond?
It'll depend on the opposition. Because if you think about it this way, we now have 2 strikers that you can rotate. So I'll give these next couple of games, I'll give you the example. So devil's advocate, let's say Isak and Ekitike are both fully fit and match ready and ready to go. You play Burnley on Sunday. You start Ekitike for 60, 65 minutes. You know you have Atletico Madrid coming to town in 2 days' time, 3 days' time after it, 2 days' time after it. You don't need to play Ekitike for 90 minutes. You can pull Ekitike off at 65 minutes, put Alexander Isak on. And what a substitution that is to begin with. And now you have Ekitike with an extra half an hour rest, an extra 30 minutes of game time not on his body while Isak sort of keeps warm. Then you could start Isak against Atletico Madrid, start him 60 minutes and then bring Ekitike on because you know you have Everton coming at the weekend as well who are going to kick the shit out of you. So now you have a constant rotation of 2 starter level strikers. This is what I was going on about in the group chat ages ago when other people were arguing with me. You have a 15 to 16 players that you will lean heavily on for the minutes because you can only make 5 subs. So there's no point in having 18, 19 starters on a team. The first 15 to 16 is probably what's going to be your starter level quality players. And then the remaining 4 to 5 that you would have in a match day squad of only 20 that you can bring will then end up being your youth and your depth and your squad players, your Wataru Endo, your Rio Ingamoa, your Trey Neone, your Federico Chiesa, that kind of a thing. That's more or less how I see the squad build up being done. But the formation change, I think there'll be a number of different formations that we will play throughout the season. I think you'll see a 4-2-2-2 where you'll see a back 4 of, if everybody's fully fit, you see a back 4 of Kirkes, Frimpong, Konate, Van Dijk. You'll then see a double pivot of McAllister and Gravenberch, maybe Szoboszlai and Gravenberch. You'll then have Wirtz sort of playing as a left sort of 10 left wing. You'll have Salah playing as a right 10 right wing. And then you'll have the front 2 of Ekitike and Isak, both of which can drift out and drift in and go and play outside in or inside out. It all depends. You could also then see a 4-4-2, which is just the same formation, just they drop a little, the 2 wingers drop a little bit deeper. You could see a 4-2-3-1 where you have Ekitike playing the left wing, but he inverts a little bit inside because you then have Kirkes bombing forward ahead of him. It adds layers and layers and layers of tactical nuance to us, having players like that in the team that can play multiple positions. Arne Slot looked at PSG and said, I want that. Their front 3 can play anywhere.
Do you think we'll see any games where you play both?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah.
Well, does that...
So the handy thing about it is Ekitike can play left wing, right wing, or attack or striker. Isak can play on the left or a striker. Gakpo can play on the left as a striker. Salah can move central if he wants to be like an inside forward or play a right wing. You then have Jeremy Frimpong that can go up and sit on right wing as well if you want an unbelievable injection of pace on that side. You then have the likes of Florian Wirtz, can play 10, he can play a left wing, he can play sort of a false 9 double 10, if that makes sense. You have Dominic Szoboszlai, who can play either one of the pivots, an 8, a 10. If you want more energy up front in the pressing, he can play either one of the wings, as he's done for Hungary. So there's multiple players that can play multiple positions. And while people might look at the depth chart and just look at it position by position, if you actually ranked it on where players can play, you have an unbelievably fluid front 6, so to speak. And then if you hope Joe Gomez stays fit, you then have a centre back that can play left or right back, allowing the opposite fullback to bomb forward and make your pseudo back 3. So there's multiple layers of tactical nuance.
Arne Slot must be rubbing his hands together right now with what he's got. Yeah. No, I mean, I just thought I'd put it to you and see what you thought.
Absolutely. I could see multiple different formations coming from this. Chris, with all the players that we have and all the multiple positions that they can play, just as I sort of listed them out there, do you think, considering how little rotation we had last season, so to speak, with certain players, like he really hammered Gakpo and Diaz into that squad. Salah played basically every minute. Van Dijk played basically every minute. The midfield, Gravenberch and McAllister, barring McAllister's slight bit of a knock, played basically every minute. Szoboszlai as well played basically every minute. Do you see a lot more rotation this season, considering Slot now has his players? So
yeah, definitely. And just going back to what you just said about the players that can play in multiple positions, we've also got Frimpong who could play right wing. So where we didn't really have reliable cover on the right wing last season, with Chiesa been in and out of injuries the whole season, we've now got hopefully reliable cover there. And we've got 2 options as well. So we've got Frimpong and we've got Chiesa. So I can definitely see a lot more rotation. I agree with you. We've probably looked at the model of PSG and thought to ourselves, yeah, we need to have multiple players that could play in multiple positions. And I think we've signed the exact profile of player for that situation and that model. Obviously, we've still got Gakpo and we've still got 2 options at left wing, but we've also got 2 options as a striker. We've got 3 and we've got Rio and Gamora for left wing as well. So you can even, I'm happy for him to play. I don't see him as someone that's not ready to get proper minutes in the Premier League, because we've seen already he's not scared of a challenge. He's very quick, he's very confident. Normally when you see players that age come through, remember with Raheem Sterling, there was so many holes in his game. His shooting wasn't up to scratch, his finishing wasn't great, but you can see straight away with N'Gomoa, he is ready to be a backup and he's ready to step in when he's needed. So I can definitely see a lot more rotation, especially Champions League games. I can really see us playing a completely different team, at least for the league phase, because we saw last season finishing top of the league phase doesn't really help you out. It doesn't matter where you finish. So I can see us laying off a little bit in the group phase. I can see us going for the wins, obviously, but he's not going to risk the first 11 for the Premier League and the same players in the week against the other European teams. So yeah, we will definitely see more. We've definitely got more options. We've got Leone as well as a centre back, so we'll probably see a lot of him in European games because he's obviously from the Italian league. So yeah, we'll see a lot more rotation. Isak and Ekatike, that's the big question that everyone's asking. How are they both going to fit into the team? But we saw last season, Slot's not that manager that sticks to one formation. Like, you got the managers like Arteta, you got Amorim, who just do not change their system. And Slot has proven in his first season that he can change games just like that. He can have one system in the first half and a different system in the second half. So I wouldn't get too bogged down on what formations we're going to play, because he's so tactically brilliant that he's always thinking of a solution depending on what the opposition is, not what his favorite system is. He's not like Klopp, who went into the same game with the same mentality. Let's just score more goals than them. He's more, okay, we're playing this team, this is how we're going to play against this team, and then next week this is how we're going to play against this team. So and that will contribute to the rotation, because different players are going to be needed for different types of games. So I can see it a lot more this season, and we can just see by the sheer volume of players that we signed this summer. I know a lot of players have left, but if you actually compare the players that have come in compared to the players that have gone out, you can see we've added a lot more quality and a lot more versatility to the team. So I can definitely see more rotation. And I'm just really excited to see all these players and how they're going to gel into the team.
Just to add on to that, Chris, because I think you made a really good point, mate, in terms of Arne Slot and the selection he's got and rotation and things. This might be a big shout for me, but I think in respect to Arne Slot, I think he's probably now the best in-game manager in the Premier League, because if you watch other teams, and I'll use City and Arsenal as examples, they don't do what Arne Slot does. If something's not working, they don't change it in-game straight away. They normally leave it till half-time or 60, 70 minutes. But if you look at Arne Slot and go back to the game at Portman Road last year, first game of the season away, when Joe Kwanzaa wasn't playing well, and he hooked him straight away and put Konate on. I honestly think that Arne Slot is probably the best tactical and in-game manager in the league.
And if you look at last season, he proved it straight away, and it was happening week in, week out. We were grinding out results sometimes, true, but if he's changing a game, that's what we have to do to get back into the game or come back and win the game. So we've seen that last season. And if you look at Arsenal and Man City, it's been their downfall many times. Arteta has run so many of those players into the ground. They get injured so often, where Arne Slot knows the limits of his players and he knows when to make the right changes. And I think that's what the difference was last season. We were managing our team better.
He's an absolute. He's a genius. To me, he's the 20th century Bob Paisley. That might be pushing it a little bit. I don't know, but I mean, they were comparing Jurgen Klopp to Bill Shankly. I think we could say the same about Arne Slot now. He's very quiet how he goes about things. He's very well spoken. He comes across fantastically well. He's very calm, but he's not frightened or afraid of upsetting egos.
No, I completely agree with you on that. I think him coming into the squad, and obviously it being Klopp's squad, he owed nothing to nobody. Nobody owed nothing to him, and he owed nothing to nobody. Everybody had a clean slate, and they had to prove it to him last season. And some did, and some didn't. And the people that didn't are out the door. But with how he is tactically, he very much is very fluid. He's probably one of the more. I think Pep is a better tactical manager in how he sets up, but tactical adjustments mid-game, Arne Slot is better. The reason I say that is because Pep, for some reason, similarly to Arteta, which is maybe why Arteta does it as well, he tries to hammer square pegs into round holes, whereas Arne Slot will take the foot off the gas and just try and fix things and move players about and change tactically and small little changes. And if anything, it reminds me very much of how, if anybody watches American football, of how an offensive coordinator will attack a defense. I'm a 49ers fan, so Kyle Shanahan.
I've been looking at your TikTok, Stephen. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, so don't say anything.
We won't say anything. But the way, if anybody watches American football, Kyle Shanahan is seen as this offensive genius. And what he does is he doesn't change massive things. He changes small things that give away as the game. He gets better as the game goes on. So a team will come out and set up in A, B, and C. He will see them set up in A, B, and C, and he just probe at little weaknesses here and there that he knows that are already there and get them to sort of show their weaknesses, which is why you've seen an awful lot last season that Liverpool were an unbelievable second half team. Slot probed, found weaknesses, and then in the second half went for the jugular. And that's basically how I see Slot as a manager. He's very much an American football head on his shoulders, like the NFL and an offensive coordinator. I'm not sure there's any other apt description than that of somebody that's able to make those changes in real time in a game, and it's a credit to him. He's absolutely fantastic at it. We are going to move on now to the Konate news, because I see a couple of people in the comments asking about it. But before we do, make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Make sure you have your notifications on for all future streams and videos so that you never miss out as well. If you're currently watching on X or Twitter at the moment, make sure you jump down into the comments below. You will see a link to our YouTube page where you can jump over, subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, and have your notifications on so you don't miss anything. Now, people are asking, what's the drama about Ibu? What about Ibu? We are going to dive into that now. So over the past week, more or less, in the international break, Ibrahima Konate has not really done himself any favours with the Liverpool faithful in the way he has spoken about a possible transfer to Real Madrid. In one interview, when Kylian Mbappe was sat beside him, a journalist asked him about the move to Real Madrid and like, is Mbappe calling him? And he jokingly said, yeah, he's calling me nearly every hour, nearly every day, and laughed about it. Not exactly the fan base to rile up with a move to Real Madrid on a free transfer when the youngest guy, the local boy, decided to take that long walk off a short pier not 4 or 5 months ago. With regards then to more news that came out from Lewis Steele was saying that his sources from Spain were saying that Real Madrid feel very confident about the move. They also feel confident that personal terms will be close to being agreed in principle with Ibrahima Konate's agent. And for anybody wondering, is that not tapping up? Yes, it is. It happens everywhere. Every team does it. The whole footballing world does it. You just can't prove it. And the way they get around it is they talk to the agent, not the player. And you agree in principle because the agent knows what the player wants. So then the second the club give them authorization to talk to the player, it's 90% done anyway. But his sources from Spain are obviously saying that Ibrahima Konate's deal could be done fairly soon for Real Madrid and personal terms agreed and whatnot. And these are the same sources that told him the exact same thing about Alexander-Arnold last season. So it remains to be seen whether or not Ibrahima Konate will stay. Chris, what are your thoughts on the entire situation? Do you think Konate is going to stay? Is he going to go? Does this make the move for Gahey falling through at the last minute a little bit worse in your eyes, or how do you?
To be honest, if this is, I know he's coming to the end of his contract, and we can't really, as a club, do anything about it if he's decided that that's what he wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a bit too much of a coincidence that news came out at the same time as the news of Gahey looking like he's joining Liverpool next summer. We saw a couple of reports yesterday. I think it was it Chris Banscombe? I think he tweeted it. He said, Gahey, Liverpool are confident Gahey's going to join Liverpool next summer. Konate is he's a solid player. He's a good player. If he wants to leave the club at the end of his contract, he knows where the door is. He can go. As long as I don't have a problem with Konate doing that, as long as he doesn't do what Trent did and let his head drop halfway through the season. It's a completely different situation. We will never force players to stay. Obviously, the Trent situation was a bit more personal because he's a boyhood Liverpool fan. He always spoke about how he wanted to become the captain of Liverpool. Konate has no loyalty to Liverpool. So if he wants to go, that's his decision. I don't understand why he would want to go at this moment in time because I think we're stronger than Real Madrid as a team. But if that's what he wants to do, it's fine. I haven't got an issue with it as long as he puts 110% this season to make sure that we regain that title. I don't think it throws the Gahey deal in doubt. I think it all but confirms it because we've already got our replacement sorted out for Konate. He knows he's going to come to Liverpool and start every game, most games with Van Dijk. And then that will probably pave the way for Leone to start bedding into the team when Van Dijk's contract comes to an end as well.
One of the things about Van Dijk's contract coming to an end as well, Craig, is the fact that we have essentially a homegrown talent maturing overseas, shall we say, in Leverkusen with Jarell Kwanzaa. But with the Alexander Isak news, there's not really much that Liverpool can do about it. We had Harold on the stream on Monday, and he was quite, shall we say, vocal. It's probably the most polite word I can put about it. I know he was very vocal about his lack of enthusiasm towards Konate and the fact that if he is, and I understand his logic behind it, and I completely agree with him because I said the same thing about Trent. So what, for anybody that didn't see it, what Harold said is that if Konate's head is turned and he is already set on going to Real Madrid, he is not going to put in 100%. And I agree. Because why would he put in 100% when there's no contract signed? When if he overstretches or reaches for a ball or goes for a 50-50 ball and comes out the worst off it, all of a sudden he gets a knock, he gets a hamstring injury, gets an ankle injury. All of a sudden that Real Madrid payday and that big signing bonus dries up immediately. So I had the same opinion about Trent last season, and people gave out to me and said, no, Trent's a winner. Trent will want to be. A week later, the Man United game happened, and I just sat there with an angry, smug grin on my face saying, I told you so. So, in my own opinion, Craig, I think if his performances do not drop and it's not detrimental to the team, he has to stay in the starting 11 when fully fit, as long as his performances are not detrimental to the team. Because we've seen what happened with Trent last year when he just was not arsed against United, and it's a game we should have and could have won if not for him just shitting the bed, for lack of a better term.
I agree. I'm not going to give Trent any airtime because I don't think he deserves it. He's not a legend. He never will be the way he went about it. With Konate, I think the thing we need to realise here is he's a professional, and he's still on the contract for a year. I think if anybody notices his game's gonna drop off or deteriorate, it'll be Arne Slot. And the instant he spots that, he'll take him out and either put, if he's fit, Joe Gomez in, because he won't let you down, or you'll put young Leone in. And people say about young Leone, he's 18, he's only a kid. But have you seen the size of him? He's an absolute beast. He's a unit. And the thing is, what I've watched of him in Serie A, he reminds me of Maldini, and he reminds me of Alan Hansen. This is how good this lad is. So I've not got any problems. I just hope Konate does the shirt proud, doesn't let the fans down or his manager down. I think he's already. I've come to peace with it that he's gone in the summer, and I think it'll just be Konate will leave on a free, and we'll sign Gay on a free, and that's how it'll pan out. And if anything, I have met Ibu, he's a nice lad, but I think we're getting a better centre half in Mark Gay. He's England's best centre half, that's for sure. And the way he's conducted himself over the debacle in the summer has been absolutely exemplary. And he's the type of that for me is a typical Liverpool player. And I think when Virgil stands down in 2 years' time, there's your next captain.
I don't know if I'd give him the captain only in the door. I think it'd be McAllister that would be captain next.
Do you not think that Gay can handle the captaincy of Liverpool?
Not that he can't handle it, but I don't think you overstep players that are already there. I think he may end up being part of the leadership group. Captain, however, is a completely different story.
But talking about captains, isn't that? There's one thing that did surprise me, and his selection of vice captain. I honestly thought it would be more Salah, and he's plumb for Andy Robertson.
With what the vice captain and captain have to do throughout the season, James Milner spoke about it. Like, James Milner was vice captain with Jordan Henderson there, and the amount of stuff that they have to do behind the scenes is nuts. I think Salah is more of a player that likes to be a leader, not the leader, if that makes sense. He likes to be part of the leadership group, but not be the guy or the guy's second in command. I think Robbo is absolutely fine with doing. He's a guy that's there. He knows the culture. He knows the club. He's happy to bed in new guys. He's happy to help new guys like Milos Kerkez and everything like that as well. And he's one of those players that just gets on with everybody. And it's I think it's an awful lot of off the pitch stuff that Robbo will be handling as well.
Just what you've said there. Do you think that's one of the reasons he didn't go to Atletico? Because he already knew that this was in the pipeline?
Oh, he knew this at the start of the summer. That's what Robbo said. Robbo said he knew it basically at the start of the summer. It just wasn't official.
So that's why he didn't leave, isn't it?
It possibly could be, but it also could possibly be told. Like, Slot might have turned around and told him, "Look, I need you for the season. I need with how much turnover there is. I need a steady head and a leadership head in it. If you get a deal that's too good to refuse, I'll understand if you go. Otherwise, I would like you to stay." I think that was very much it. And Robbo looked at everything and said, my family's here, the missus is here, the kids are here, we're settled. I don't mind staying another year and getting another Premier League medal and maybe another Champions League medal under my belt. Which am I more likely to do? Get a Champions League and a Premier League in the next 12 months at Atletico and maybe get paid a little bit more? Or am I more likely to be part of the leadership group, one of the main leaders, still get the kids to stay here, not have to relocate the entire family, still get paid a handsome sum as what he is at 160 grand a week, much less than what other players of his quality would have been on at this stage of their career. He's always been a team-friendly guy. So I think he looked at the entire picture of everything, and he's settled. The family settled. They have the house there. They have the kids there. The kids are going through school or are going out of school or whatever it may be. If this was a entirely different life situation, I think he goes. But I think it's very much Arne Slot said, I'd like to keep you. If you get a deal that's too good to turn down, I'll understand if you go. But if you do stay, you're the vice captain and you'll be used this season. And that's maybe what he looked at. And he might have maybe had a conversation with himself over the summer of, I know my body probably isn't going to hold up as much this season if I was to play full 90s every week, but I can definitely do a job off the bench. And he maybe looked at James Milner and probably reached out to James Milner for advice on that, as well as somebody entering the end of his career, although it seems like we'll all be dead in the ground before James Milner retires.
Mr. Boomsaw, Mr. Rabbit.
Exactly.
Yeah, Mr. Rabbit,
But with that's more or less how I see this Konate situation. Very similar to what Chris said of, it's a different situation. He's not a homegrown kid. He didn't grow up out in Huyton. He didn't grow up anywhere around the club. He didn't grow up. He was just out from 5 minutes around the training ground, mind you. But Trent was somebody that was living all of our dreams and fucked it away, which is why it was a little bit more raw. With Konate, I feel it's a little bit different. He doesn't have any connection to the club beyond the fact that we signed him from Red Bull, and that's it. That's literally it. If he wants to go in the summer, if he wants to go in the summer, off with him. Trent has already been forgotten about. So that's the way that I look at it. Right. I'm going to move on to one of the last topics of the day before we finish up. And it's a fun one because I love it because there's lots of numbers and lots of stats. Make sure that you like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Make sure you have your notifications on for all future streams and videos as well so that you never miss out. If you're currently watching on X or Twitter at the moment, jump down into the comments down below and you will see a link straight over to our YouTube page where you can come and join in the conversation. Make sure that you like, subscribe while you're here and put your notifications on so that you never miss out. It's very good to have everybody here. Now, the last topic of the day. Opta have a supercomputer that they basically run 10,000 simulations in order to get the most likely outcomes for both the Premier League and the Champions League. Some of the data that they take into this supercomputer is the likes of expected goals for, expected goals conceded, all of these different metrics of stats of field tilt and massive amounts of data that gets pumped into these algorithms, and it gives people and they simulate both the Champions League and the Premier League 10,000 times each, and of those 10,000 times it gives you back the percentages of which teams finish where. Liverpool have been noted, and as it stands at the moment, I'm going to actually pull it up now, but as it stands at the moment, Liverpool have been noted as you're going to laugh at this because it's only week 4, 50% likely to win the Premier League this season going into game week 4. And as for the Champions League, which hasn't started yet, they are just over 20% likely to win the Champions League, ahead of Arsenal, who are behind them on 16%. Chris, would it be in this early in the season? Is it way too soon to buy into the hype, or shall we just get on the delusional train and be like, yeah, just call the season off. We're done already. We've won both. Just hand us both.
It's early. The Premier League one, I kind of agree with because they're the reigning champions. We've only got stronger, and I know a lot of teams have. But that makes more sense than us being the favourites for the Champions League because we went out at such an early point last season. I know we went out to the eventual champions, but yeah, it's too early. I love to say, yeah, I agree. I do agree with it. I do think we are the favourites for both competitions. Champions League, there were a lot of good teams out there, but we saw Real Madrid struggle a lot last season. They just couldn't get those players to gel together, and I know we've got a lot of new players that need to gel together. So in that sense, we can't really predict anything because we don't know how well this is going to work for us. But with I agree with the fact that we're favourites for both. Arsenal, I'm guessing they're second favourites for the Premier League as well as the Champions League. I think we're stronger than them. I think we're stronger than City. I think we're stronger than Chelsea. And when you look beyond that, there isn't really that many teams that are close enough to the top to even have a mention in winning the title. So I do think the closest teams around us, we're stronger than them all. I think the same applies for the Champions League. That PSG tie was very funny last season. We somehow smashed and grabbed the win at their ground, and they done the same to us at Anfield. And then we lost on penalties, which could go either way. So we weren't necessarily the weaker team. I know that wasn't one of our greatest performances of that season, but we gave them a good game, and we could have so easily gone through. And had we gone through, anything would have been possible. So I agree with both stats. It's too early to say who's going to win what, but I agree in terms of everything, all the metrics that you mentioned. I agree that we're favourites for both.
Like, as you can see here, title chances for Liverpool, 49.16%. They expect us to get about 80 points. We are 90% likely to get into the Champions League. If we were to absolutely fall apart, there's only a 3.5% chance that we'll end up in the Europa League. No chance we end up in the Conference League. And there's a 0.01% chance that we get relegated. But looking at all of this now, it's funny because about 80 points is where the Premier League was won last season. So it wouldn't necessarily shock me. But if you take a look at the expected here as well and everything. So this is your expected position. This is your play. This is your won. This is your drawn. This is your expected goals for, your expected goals against, your expected goal difference, and your expected points. We should not even be in the top 10 based on our performances so far this season. But we have ground out wins, as Chris mentioned. So Chelsea, ironically, for where they are in the league, they are second behind us. They should be first. And we should be 10th instead of first. But the predictions are what we're more so looking at. And we look at the Champions League now as well in a moment, because I'll get this one up too. But Craig, with Liverpool basically this far ahead in the predictions for the Premier League, you might as well just, hand Arsenal the bridesmaid medal again and just hand us the Premier League. And by the way, these predictions were done before Isak arrived. So this is not including the fact that Alexander Isak has arrived at the club either, which is mental.
Yeah. Well, I did my pre-season predictions with my mate. We went through the fixtures, and I predicted we'd win the first three. So 9 points out of 9. So, looking at who Arsenal have signed, I don't think Arsenal have signed anybody who will get in Liverpool's starting 11, to be honest.
I don't think Arsenal have signed anybody that made them better than we were already last season before we signed who we did.
And the thing is, we've done this season what we used to do in the 70s and 80s when we won the league. We've always strengthened and made us better, and that's what we've done this year. I think, barring injuries, fingers crossed, the main guys like Virgil and Isak don't get any injuries, and Ozlai, Maka, we don't get any long-term injuries with those guys. I think we'll be fine. As for the Champions League, I really am not asked about the league phase as long as we qualify. I'm not interested in finishing top because PSG had an absolute stinker in the group phase last time and we ended up drawing them. So what was the point of it anyhow? So as long as we qualify, I don't mind. And I think I agree with what you said earlier on, both of you, Chris and Steve. I think when we lost to PSG at home last year, that was still wrangling with Arne Slot, and that's why you've seen the transfer window we've had this year. Because that's it. I think PSG will be his blueprint for this season.
Completely agree. When you look at the Champions League predictions then, expected points in the league stage, Liverpool have nearly 17 with Arsenal just behind them and PSG just behind them. When it comes to the knockout percentage, hilariously, PSG are nearly 50-50 for either getting into the knockout stage or skipping that and going into the knockout stage playoff, that is, so before the round of 16. Liverpool have a 75% chance of getting into the last 16 based on the fixtures that we have and the players that we have. Now, this was predicted after Alexander Isak joined. Now, it was very quickly after it, so I'd imagine the algorithms and everything actually didn't factor him in. So I'd imagine that percentage might jump a little bit. But looking at all of the teams that are here, poor Newcastle, three times out of 10,000. I lie, not even 3 times out of 10,000. Is it 30 times out of 10,000 they win the Champions League? Whereas with Liverpool, it is 2,051 times out of the 10,000 that we win it. And obviously, as we get closer and closer and closer, that percentage will fluctuate. But looking at how the competition is at the moment, it really would not shock me if Liverpool done a double this season. That really wouldn't shock me at all so far. If Liverpool were able to do a double this season after Arne Slot going and winning the Premier League last season, it would probably be the best start to a Premier League career and a manager in history. Win the Premier League and then do the double the year after. We could be on for multiple trophies this season. Let's hope it's the two big ones.
I mean, I did. I think with that, I did a TikTok video the other day. What if you've seen it? Regarding the problems at a certain club and a certain person who's still there, and for me, that person is a problem. But I think we should. I think what we should do one time is do a stream, and we should have a debate on who the greatest manager of all time is, because this wrangles on and on and on, and there's only one outstanding candidate for me. But it'll spoil the debate, so, and I might not even be on stream when you talk about it. So, but I think with Arne Slot, I just think the way he sets about things and the way he's going about everything, it's just so impressive. And I'm looking forward to the Champions League this year, because I honestly believe that in the back of his mind and deep down, he's got a score to settle. Not only with PSG, but with UEFA as well. Because nobody wants to see Liverpool winning it 7 times. Everybody wants to be us. I just think we are the team to beat. I mean, it's weird because you said something about probably 4 or 5 weeks ago, Steve, on one of the streams. You said this transfer window is only phase 1. Now, I've just had a look at the people we've been linked with, the 3 transfers, what they've highlighted for coming in, and this is phase 2. And one of them was Salah's replacement, Elise. We've also been linked with another player from Crystal Palace for 60 million this afternoon instead of 100 million. I think I'm on about as well. I think he plays. Is he centre mid or is he centre midfielder?
He is. I think he's vastly overrated. I think it's just young English.
Yeah, but I don't think he's worth 60 million. But I just think the way that. And he's sort of setting his stall. I agree with you, Stephen. I think we can do the double, the League and European Cup. But I would go as far to say, and it was a Newcastle fan who said it actually on the overlap. He said, and this was his prediction. They asked him for a bold shout, and he said, with Liverpool signing Isak, I'm going to say now that Liverpool will do the treble. And everybody went, whoa, were you joking? And he went, no. He said, I'm telling you. They've just signed the best there is. And, but that's a big shout to treble. There's only 2 teams.
I mean, I wouldn't complain about it, because after getting back on our perch, getting number 20 to get number 21 to get number 7 and then get a treble on top of it, I'm pretty sure Mark Goldbridge's head would
I don't think
explode.
we'd see you for 6 months.
No, you definitely wouldn't. I'd be over that. I'd miss the parade this year because I was trying to get a mortgage sorted. So the next parade that rolls around, you can bet your bollocks I'll be there. But Chris, with that shout, I suppose, do you think we could do the double? Do you think it's a Premier League? What do you think is a realistic prediction? And I know it's really stupid to say a treble is a realistic prediction, but as Craig said, we've signed. To put it into perspective, Liverpool have signed the best left back in the Premier League from last season, the best German in a generation, the best young striker in Europe currently coming up. They've gone and they've also signed the best right-sided player in the Bundesliga, who also happens to be an invincible, the same as the best German in a generation. You've also signed the best striker on the planet currently, and you still have kept the best right winger to ever grace the Premier League and the best centre-back that has ever put on a pair of football boots, while also having the best goalkeeper that's ever put on a pair of gloves. Maybe a treble doesn't sound that
bad. You're right, and I agree with everything you just said. I think if you look at each position on the pitch and you compare our team to another team, even Arsenal are the runners-up from the last couple of seasons, I wouldn't even put any of their players in the team at the moment. The only one I would probably say is Saliba or Gabriel for Konate. That's probably it, and that's a big stretch. So and we've added to that. We've got Isak, we've got Kirkes, Frimpong, Verts. There's so Ekatike as well. There's so much quality in that team now. And I'm not gonna sit here and say I'd complain if we won a treble. I'm also not gonna say we're going to win the treble. But I would not be surprised if maybe a treble this season is a bit of a stretch because it's all of these players' first season. Don't want to set the expectations too high. We know they're quality players.
I mean, was Arne Slot's first season last year?
But this is a lot of change in one season. I would not be surprised. Don't get me wrong. If we do end up with 3 trophies, it would not surprise me because I feel we're the best team in each of those competitions. But I wouldn't be surprised if we just see the 1 trophy, hopefully the 2, and then as these players bed in a bit longer, we do it in the future. I'm sorry to rain on the parade, but that's just my opinion.
No. I completely understand the logic and see the logic of where you're coming from. Like, first season, so much turnover, so many players bedding in, trying to get used to things. I think we will see not so much a slow start to the season because we're obviously 9 points from 9 so far, but more so, I think you'll probably see us be better between February and May than we are between now and Christmas because everybody will have played together for that length of time. Everybody will be up to full steam. Salah will be able to get rest, I suppose, after AFCON too. So it'll be really interesting to see how I think we finish the season strong rather than starting the season strong.
Okay, Chris, Stephen, if you go back, if you remember when Jurgen was manager and we won our first 8 games, remember?
Yeah.
Alisson got injured, yeah, and Adrian went in goal and we won 8 on the bounce. Now we've played 3, won 3. So if we win the next 5 league games, that's 8 on the spin. Is the league over?
It depends on what Arsenal does. If Arsenal are so as it stands at the moment, what's the table like at the moment? Give me 1 second. I'll have a look here because as it stands, I think it's probably it's hard to predict that because if we what's 8 by 3 is what 24. If we go 24 points from 24 points, it'll be hard to keep up with us. But as it stands at the moment, Arsenal are 3 points behind us. If they keep pace and are still 3 points behind us after we won 8 on the spin, then it's not done. And that's also not including Chelsea, who are only 2 behind us, and that's also not including Spurs, who are looking very good and are 3 behind us. Hilariously, Everton are 3 behind us. But like Man City may turn around and have another resurgence as well. If Man City lose on Sunday to United, I think it's panic stations there for them because that'll be 1 win and 3 losses in their first 4, and they're only on 3 points at that point. It'd be very, very touchy.
I think
it's huge. I can if you look at the injuries City have just picked up, Mamouche got injured in international duty, didn't he? Rodri's not right. Foden's not right. I can see United turning City over at the weekend.
I wouldn't say turnover. I think they could probably nick a scrappy 1-0 or they might get a late winner. I don't see them turning them over. I'd be happy with it. I just can't, like, that United team is just so unclinical. I think it'd take a miracle for them to put 2 goals in the fucking net, to be honest with you. Like, they have the highest XG difference for underperformance, whereas we have probably one of the highest for overperformance, which just shows signing the 2 biggest overperformance XG from last season in Cunha and Mbeumo doesn't really do an awful lot for you when you sign 3 forwards that only create for themselves and not others, which was a major issue. United would have been better off not buying Sesko, but Bruno Fernandes behind those 2 forwards and buying a midfielder and putting the money down for Baleba. I would have been more worried about them if they bought Baleba over Sesko.
Sesko's not. He's just not going to cut the mustard for me, is
he? He needs service. He would have done unbelievably well in that Arsenal team. But he's going to. But when you have somebody like an Eze and a Saka there fully fit, creating chances for him. But in that United side with that front 3, they all create for themselves. They're not really creators for others. And the only creator for others that you have in that team is Bruno Fernandes, who you've now stuck in a double pivot. Realistically, you should have put him as sort of a false 9-10 behind the 2 attackers, and then let them run riot and let him create for them. And he would have gotten bags of assists this season, because he would have been feeding them easy chances. As much as it pains me to say it, he's a brilliant creator with the football, and you could have spent that 70 million quid on a midfielder that would have basically replaced Ugarte, who's a horrible footballer, and you could have had the likes of Kobbie Mainoo and another young guy in there, but they decided, fuck it, we'll throw 3 good forwards up front. I think personally United are buying players for after Amorim,
Well,
and not
I
for.
still think he'll be gone by Christmas.
I think so as well. I don't think anybody had Nuno being the first manager sacked anyway. I think definitely everybody had Amorim being sacked. But if they win on Sunday, I think he'll last beyond Christmas. But it'll be interesting to see. Guys, we are going to leave it there because we've just come up to the hour now, but I really appreciate the chats both myself, Chris and Craig have had. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Make sure your notifications are on for all future streams and videos so that you never miss out. Make sure if you're watching us over on X at the moment that you jump down into the comments below. You'll see a link there to jump over to our YouTube page. Leave a like, leave a comment. Let us know how you like the videos, if there's any other content you want made. Make sure you have your notifications on as well so you don't miss out. We will be back on Sunday. Mihai, one of the other hosts, will be here on Sunday with you after Liverpool's game against Burnley in Turf Moor at 4 p.m. British time on Sunday. So make sure you're around for that and you have your notifications on for that. But from myself, Chris, and Craig, thank you so much for joining us on this Friday evening. I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. Don't forget about FPL deadline tomorrow morning too, because I definitely have it because I changed my squad 2 minutes ago. Hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. I hope everybody has a great weekend. We see an Arsenal loss, we see a City loss, and we see a Liverpool win. Best time of the weekend. Thanks so much for watching.